This is Kanzenshuu, the podcast, episode 526 for the week of July 13th, 2025. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fine episode here at Kanzenshuu, the podcast, an extension of the all-encompassing Dragon Ball fan site. That's right, Kanzenshuu. We cover anything and everything Dragon Ball in hopes of enlightening a little bit, little bit of entertaining. My name is, in fact, Mike. You may see me around the internet as VegettoEX. I am the host of this here podcast. We got a doozy for you this episode. This is a convention-focused episode. Our topic this episode, returning once again to talk international convention stuff. Vaughn is joining us to chat about Japan Expo earlier this month, July 2025, over there in Paris. Notable guests this year included Kazuhiko Torishima, Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru, and Toyotaro. A good portion of the English language reporting you've seen about this convention and the guests in the panels has been paraphrased, usually poorly so, from Vaughn's original reporting. So I figured, hey, who best to have come tell us exactly what happened and who said what than the person who was there and can tell us firsthand what all that was. So psyched to have Vaughn back on for a good 2-hour chat, really detailing everything about the convention, the guests, the stories they told, some of the new little tidbits we got out of it. That is great. That is the main meat for this episode. Before we transition into the topic portion of the episode, I want to deliver some news up front that is also convention related. If you are following along with the socials on Blue Sky, and you should be, I am psyched to share, announce, confirm Kanzenshuu, and by that I mean me, at Otakon 2025 this year down in Washington, D.C. Next month in August, I will be presenting Akira Toriyama, The World, a multimedia tour, parentheses, of his lesser-known works. At least some of his lesser-known works. Again, likewise, if you've been following along on Blue Sky, I have been acquiring a wealth of VHS tapes that I didn't already own. And this includes all of the V-Jump Festival tapes, as well as all of the other animated works. So we're talking Pink, Konosuke-sama, Kosuke and Rikimaru, which I see almost no commentary about online. I will be diving into the history of some of these non-Slump, non-Dragon Ball animated works, sharing clips from each of these, original captures, original subbing on all that. So it feels so good to be able to do all of that in-house personally myself and share at the convention. That is going to be an hour-long presentation Friday night at the convention. That will be August 8th, 2025, that Friday night at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time, I believe, in the AMV Theater. Of course, for those of you not attending, will there be a recording? Of course, there will be a recording. Much like with the panel I did last year at Otakon, I will be doing a full board audio recording and then separate video recording as well, so I can mux it all together. Of course, for the online post-convention version, I can't really include video clips in there. At least I shouldn't, so I won't. So you won't quite get that portion of it. You can at least get my commentary portion. That'll be some podcast episode following up after the convention sometime in August. That said, that's a big project on my plate this month. I'm going to do my best to continue having the podcast on this roughly every other week schedule leading up to that. I may slip here or there just because prepping for the panel is of utmost importance and timely for me. And it will also technically be podcast preparation. So bear with me. Stay tuned. Obviously, there's more stuff coming your way. Want to say that. So definitely, if you are coming to Otakon, come see us Friday night. Also, I've got an AMV in the contest again this year. Also, Mary has an AMV in the contest this year. Also, we're both in the same category going up against each other. I think for the first time ever. Is one of them Dragon Ball? Mayhaps. A lot of cool convention stuff coming your way, so stay tuned for all of that. That's basically what I wanted to get up front before we get to the main meat of this year episode. I will see you on the flip side of the topic to chat some other projects, updates on things that I've been teasing in podcast episodes, and then just set you up for the future. So let's head on over to my chat with Vaughn about Japan Expo 2025 in Paris. And then, as I said, see you on the flip. Let's go. I am psyched to welcome back to the show, Vaughn. Vaughn back for round 2 to tell us about conventions again. Hey, it's great to chat with you here.
Well, thanks for having me once more. Welcome to Europe in the summer, where we have lots of conventions and details about everything, and have lots to tell.
Yeah, you have a lot of stories, and it seems like everyone's secondhand retelling your stories. So I figured, let's just go to the source, someone who is actually there and can tell from their own firsthand perspective. Tell me about the most recent convention. Let's actually start. What was this convention? It's a big one.
Okay, so the convention I was at is called the Japan Expo in Paris, France. This was the 24th issue of this convention, which started in the late 90s. Of course, it stopped during COVID because, of course, it stopped during COVID. Japan Expo is the biggest convention that's related to manga, anime, and the likes in the world after Comic-Con. And this year, and I got the numbers like yesterday, we had over 240,000 attendees over 4 days, which is pretty big. Last year, where we had less people coming in because there were the Olympics at the same time, so it affected attendance a bit. But yeah, this year it was huge, and the most attendees came on Saturday and Sunday. It's a convention that is held annually in Paris, in the biggest exposition situation in Paris, and yeah, it's pretty big event, pretty famous event, and it's so big that the public transport adapts the trains so everyone can go in and out of the convention as part of the city's managing of population, because 240,000 people is it's not small change even in Paris.
Yeah, I want to give folks a little bit of a comparison here. So the way that you count people at conventions is different. Some folks will do, it's called turnstile counting. Other folks will do individual memberships. But if you're saying, let's just assume good faith here, 240,000 for this convention, Otakon, which I have either introduced or we'll talk about later this episode, one of the bigger ones here in the U.S. on the East Coast, it looks like they had 46,000 last year. So we're talking like an order of magnitude larger here for this convention.
It's pretty big, and every year they actually have international guests. France is the second world's largest consumer of manga and anime after Japan.
Right.
Even if we are like half the population of Japan, so that's like big numbers. We brought in Dragon Ball in French first, before Z even existed. So yeah, we have a big history of manga and anime ever since the 70s. We started with Goldorak, Mazinger Z. We had a big, the 50 years of Goldorak. We had Junji Ito coming. We had Toyotaro coming this year. In the past, we had in 2009, I believe we had Clamp coming. In 2018, I think it was Tsukasa Hojo. So huge names, big names, great people, amazing people who like to visit France and, and participate in convention and meet French fans. And we're pretty up to date. I believe we are almost, we translate manga faster than most other countries. And we have Dragon Ball SD, and you guys don't have Dragon Ball SD, so that's a shame on you. But Viz needs to translate SD. SD is amazing.
Well, let's talk about this year's convention, because you had a wealth of incredible guests. You already mentioned one of those names, Toyotaro, but why don't you give me the quick rundown of the most important Dragon Ball related names you had this year?
So, all right. So this year we had the incredible luck to be able to invite Japan Expo invited. I didn't do anything.
Right.
Japan Expo, Japan Expo invited Kazuhiko Torishima, who was the first editor of Dr. Slump and then Dragon Ball, who discovered Akira Toriyama and brought him into Weekly Shonen Jump, who then became the rédacteur en chef. It has a name in English. The main publisher.
Oh yeah, he was editor-in-chief of various magazines, Hell V Jump, got all the way up the chain there at Shueisha and beyond.
Yeah, he's in charge of. He was in charge of bringing in all of the famous golden age era of manga on Weekly Shonen Jump, and then he founded V Jump, and then became its president. And now he is doing his own thing and going on the radio show. One of the other guests that was with him was Chris Naz, who is the producer of the radio show Koso Koso, and she was here to be with him and accompany his publishing efforts, because he published Dr. Mashirito's Ultimate Manga Techniques.
Yep.
So this is the woman who is dressed as Arale often, and she does the kamehamehas and everything. So she was there. And alongside Torishima and Toyotaro, we also had Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru, who is a character designer of Dragon Ball GT, who is a key animator in DB and DBZ, who was a character designer of Daima, a very famous animator and artist, who actually drew plenty of the covers of modern Dragon Ball books, who are not not the actual manga, but the guidebooks, the super exciting guides, everything like that. Nakatsuru drew most of these illustrations, so he's famous on that regard. So I'm pretty sure that everyone listening knows who Nakatsuru is. He invented Super Saiyan 4, and he's amazing and he's sweet, and I want to hug him. And we also had the French voices of Kid Goku, Goten, and Android 18. So this is Brigitte Lecordier. She's a lovely lady who is friends with Masako Nosawa, who is the Japanese voice of Goku. And we also had the adult voice of Goku, whose name is Patrick Borg. He's an amazing guy, and he also came in to pay his respects to Eric Legrand, who was the voice actor of Vegeta and Yamcha in French, and who sadly passed away recently from probably cancer. We don't exactly have the details, but it's implied it was cancer, and he had it for like almost 10 years.
Yeah, I saw that story going around. That's tragic.
Yeah, it was very hard on us, and because we started. They started working in 1988 on Dragon Ball. So I mean, we're talking about a 40-year-old career. And yeah, it's for most French fans, this is part of our childhood and the childhood of our kids. For those of us who are parents, so it really hit us hard. And yeah, there are many videos about French dubs, including a Japanese documentary who came to France to see how Dragon Ball was being dubbed in French in 1988, and we can see all these wonderful people there. And yeah, it's really heartwarming. So they participated in some of the panels, and it was pretty interesting.
So I guess from the Japanese perspective, really, we're looking at Torishima, Nakatsuru, and Toyotaro. So I'd love for you to take me through some of the panels that they had, some of the big things out of them. We've already heard anecdotally some of these stories, but like I said, I want to hear from the source. So get us going here.
So the convention was held over 4 days, and the first day was Thursday. And for Thursday, we had where is it? We had a live drawing situation with Torishima, Nakatsuru, Toyotaro, and Brigitte Lecordier, the friend Kid Goku's voice.
Mm-hmm.
This live drawing was about drawing our favorite heroes. So they didn't name Dragon Ball, but the idea was eventually to go towards Dragon Ball. In this panel, it was let's say a competition between Nakatsuru and Toyotaro, with Brigitte Lecordier and Torishima drawing as part of the presentation and as part of the gag of drawing together the same characters. They started with Doraemon because he's the easiest character to ever draw.
Sure,
because
yeah.
you have a small song to learn how to draw him, and so everyone would draw along with the song, and it was pretty cute. Then Torishima explained, okay, let's start with the easiest Dragon Ball character to draw. Can you guess who is the easiest Dragon Ball character to draw?
Oh boy, I'm going to guess. There's not much to him. You got some dots and some eyes. That's it.
Yes, congrats! You guessed correctly. So then it started with Kid Krillin. So Torishima drew him and explained, okay, Kid Krillin is drawn like this, and he showed the traditional early DB's eyes and the small scrunchy face and the 6 dots on his forehead and no nose. And then Nakatsuru and Toyotaro had to draw him as well, and you could see that Nakatsuru's trait, the delicate way of drawing, was very much in the mood of following modern Toriyama style, while Toyotaro followed his own style and everything. But Toyotaro was incredibly fast. Yeah, you have no idea how fast this guy is. You blink once and you missed it.
That's really funny to me because I can't draw at all. I can barely draw a stick figure. But anytime I try to draw some Dragon Ball stuff, that's exactly who I draw because like I can picture the 3 sides of the eye that's not enclosed. You do the couple dots, then you do the 6 dots, and like, well, I don't know where to go from here, but that's about all I can draw. But what also strikes me is that we've heard from Toyotaro that part of the reason why he was invested in doing some Dragon Ball stuff, especially professionally, I think we talked about this last time, was him looking at things like The Brief Return of Dr. Slump, the new Cashman series, and seeing other names like Takao Koyama and Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru, who he's sitting next to drawing on stage all these years later.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that a fan actually managed to become part of the official franchise and being responsible. And he's not the only one. Kubota also said the same thing in March when it came to seeing Furusawa become an official artist.
Yeah.
And when he was 10, so he was extremely motivated to he himself also become part of the official storyline. And yeah, Naho Ishii also came from the fandom and then became an official artist. So yeah, it's very wholesome. So later they drew Kid Goku, and Torishima explained that his face is very much like a mochi, so very soft and squishy cheek, and it's very hard to draw. And yeah, and everyone explained how they would draw Kid Goku, and Toyotaro, who does not draw Kid Goku often, realized, oh, damn, I'm actually drawing Goten right now, so this is a problem, and so he tried to fix it. But yeah, I mean, I'm talking about literal 45 seconds drawing from Toyotaro, while Nakatsuru, and this is a theme that's going to come back. Nakatsuru is Torishima often say, "Oh, Nakatsuru, you're so slow. You're so slow. Come on, hurry up." And Nakatsuru is really paying close attention and taking the time needed to actually finish his drawing properly. And yeah. And then they drew Adult Goku in a similar way. And the whole panel was also explaining how Nakatsuru was much more focused on the expression of the characters. Sadly, we couldn't take pictures. So yeah, and some people who won the drawings, the drawings were given away. The winners actually posted the art online sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could see that Nakatsuru really focused on the facial expression and the intensity of each trait, while Toyotaro himself was much more aware of the composition of the page. So he would place his character in a way that in the paper, he would fit better. And Nakatsuru's hair would actually go outside of the paper if he continued drawing. You know, his placement on the paper was not very good, if that makes sense, by his own words. And Toyotaro really focused more on the silhouette of the character and the body language more than the facial expression. So it was Toyotaro was more focused on the body language, which was interesting to see because Nakatsuru comes from animation, while Toyotaro comes from manga. So it was interesting to note, and Torishima actually did an analysis of how they drew each character and why. And of course, his own drawings, as well as Brigitte Lecordier's drawings, were also very cute and very wholesome as a way to really describe what makes a good drawing and how everything works in that sense. And yeah, it was a very fun panel on Thursday. Later, there was the Friday event, which was about, if my memory serves me well, a retrospective on the career of Nakatsuru. So Torishima would present Nakatsuru and his career and show his first in-between animations and how he started working. And Nakatsuru was like, "Oh, why are you guys doing a retrospective on my career? I'm just a random guy." And yeah, it was pretty wholesome to see how humble and kind and really hardworking Nakatsuru is. And yeah, Torishima was really all about how he discovered Nakatsuru and how he actually brought him in to draw more of Toriyama's work. We found out that he started on Dragon Quest V, and he actually drew much more than we believed he did because Toriyama was too busy. So Nakatsuru served as a double.
Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised to hear that because think about the timeline of when that game was and how much everyone had going on. And just the slew of video games that were coming out. Yeah, absolutely. You can see him, especially if he could really mimic Toriyama at that point. So Dragon Quest V is like, that to me, the Super Famicom cover Dragon Quest V is like peak Toriyama. I adore that era of him.
Yeah, and actually, most of the drawings you can think of were actually made by Nakatsuru and not by Toriyama, which is pretty surprising. That's how good he was.
Yeah, something that strikes me about what you mentioned there is I have a bunch of like 96, 97 V jumps in front of me for various reasons, and the new Cashman manga is in here, and you mentioned Nakatsuru came from animation, of course, doing character designs and actual animation. And then being roped in to do some actual manga stuff. And when you look at the page of things he does for manga, it feels like animation, like he's just drawing animation frames on the page.
Yes, exactly. And this is what Torishima mentioned, that they were reading a newspaper when they were on the plane to come to France. And in the newspaper, they realized that Toriyama saying that thing about Nakatsuru. Toriyama said, "Oh, you're really strong. You're really good, Nakatsuru." And the Nakatsuru, of course, like, oh, what do you mean? I'm just a random dude, And Torishima would explain, well, the thing is, unlike Toriyama, you come from animation, so you are able to think about angles and character positions and dynamism that Toriyama never actually ever considered. So in that regard, at those moments, Torishima kind of implied that maybe Nakatsuru was better at the time.
It's something in some ways. I think there's stuff about Toriyama where just the stuff that he would unconsciously pull from cinema, I think works really well for him. But yeah, everyone's got their strengths, weaknesses, differences, and I think all of it coming together is just kind of like what makes Dragon Ball at that time.
Yes, exactly, and it's pretty interesting to see how Torishima actually analyzed this and talked about it on the panel, and he explained that Nakatsuru himself didn't start working on Toriyama's traits until he became a professional. He didn't draw from a fan's perspective because he's older, he's in the same age group as Toriyama. And at the time, when he was trying to learn how to draw, he actually copied the trait of Matsumoto, Leiji Matsumoto. Mm-hmm. But Torishima said, yeah, but Matsumoto's trait is not very precise. So he was scolded, like, you can say that. If you say that, you're not going to be able to come back to the country. Because Torishima is not the kind to hold back. He doesn't have anyone to answer to, so he's able to speak freely, and that's something very refreshing when it comes to talking about to Japanese professionals. So yeah, Nakatsuru was put on Torishima's radar because Torishima, as the editor-in-chief of Weekly Shonen Jump, actually went to Toei before it was called Toei Animation. It was Toei Doga. And the very beginning of Dragon Ball, he needed someone to draw, to help Toriyama with certain illustrations. And he approached Morishita, who was the director of the Dragon Ball, the director of the Dragon Ball anime at the time, who is now the actual full director of Toei Animation, by the way. So this guy became very, very important. So he approached Morishita and he said, "Yeah, well, I need someone." And Morishita was like, yeah, looking down, lots of animators are very good at reproducing Toriyama's traits, but they all lack a little something. All the traits, the drawings are a bit stiff or harsh. Mm-hmm. And yeah, if you really need someone, yeah, I might have someone. Yeah, there's this one guy, but the problem with this guy is that he's so slow. He's so slow at drawing. So for an animator's perspective, being slow is not a good thing. So yeah, and this is how Torishima found out about Nakatsuru. His trait might be closest to Toriyama's, but he's very slow. And Nakatsuru had no idea about this, so he said, "Oh, I just discovered this. I didn't know." It was also about the beginning of how Dragon Ball was produced, and Torishima was not happy about how the Doctor Slump and especially the early Dragon Ball anime was going.
Right.
And he said, need to change this. And he saw Senseiya and he said, yeah, the manga is like kind of this level, I won't say mid because it's good, but no, not top tier. But the script was excellent. And he wanted that for Dragon Ball. And he decided to poach the scriptwriter for Senseiya, who is, of course, Koyama, and bring in some of those animators to actually give some more punch about the action of Dragon Ball. And this is how Dragon Ball came to be. And when when Koyama became the full scriptwriter for Dragon Ball, they decided to change the name of Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z. And why Z? Well, because Z is the last letter, and this means it's going to be the end of Dragon Ball. Well, jinxed. We know how that ended up, what that ended up. So yeah, and so the whole panel about Nakatsuru's career in general, he used to work on Transformers and G.I. Joe at the time, and his very first work was as an in-betweener was on a series called Future War 198X, so 1980 something.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And they actually showed the scene and was like pretty interesting. And they also showed the first scene in Dragon Ball where he actually was the key animator. And it's the scene where the old man slams his axe on Goku's head when they visit Oolong's village.
Oh yeah, it's that early. That's great.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So yeah, they really, really, really showed. And so yeah, it was also a lot of connection between the fact that they knew other producers of those other animations. And Torishima actually asked Nakatsuru why did Nakatsuru enter Toei and not another company? And the thing is, at the time when he got his high school diploma, Toei started a big recruitment campaign, and according to him, it was about 10 years without a recruiting campaign at the time. So he tried and he got in, but it was not 10 years; it was actually more than 20 years. And the last recruitment campaign by Toei was the campaign that actually recruited a certain, maybe you heard of him. His name is Hayao Miyazaki.
No, doesn't ring a bell at all.
Oh, yeah, who knows? I mean, some random dude nobody heard of.
I hope he's doing well today.
Yeah, I mean, probably, with with his union work and anime was a mistake, dude. I love him. I love him so much. So there, the between Miyazaki and Nakatsuru, nobody was hired at Toei. So like a pretty big gap. So it was interesting to find out that little piece of trivia. And that the exam to enter Toei was to draw and understand human movement. It didn't matter if you weren't very good at drawing. What was important is that how you are good at showing movement, how you understand the different poses, and how to render that gesture and that movement on paper, and really really convey that situation to paper so that you would actually become a good animator. And yeah, Nakatsuru's flaw was that he was very, very, very slow. And that was really, really painful because if Torishima kept teasing slash kind of bullying in a cute way. I mean, they've been working together for like 35 years, so it's not mean spirited, but they're like, oh, but you're so slow. So yeah, the calamar that he drew for Dragon Quest V was very, very very hard, and all the way to how many of his designs were initially rejected. He was having such a hard time with pure illustration, but eventually he got the hang of it by sheer practice, and it was very wholesome to see Nakatsuru saying it was so hard, but it was worth it. And he really fell in love with Toriyama's trait and delicate traits, and how he is able to really convey with simple traits something so important and feel good. And yeah, it was very interesting, and all the way to his modern campaign with Murakami, who did a monogram film called Super Flat Monogram Film with a collab with Louis Vuitton and Murakami.
Mm.
And yeah, from a random guy on the Kyushu rural area all the way to a big international campaign for a big brand. And that campaign was wanted specifically to have Digimon designs because Nakatsuru did the character designs for Digimon.
Yeah, yeah.
And those designs were never rejected, so everything was accepted on the first go, and that was really a really big improvement according to Torishima, and he was really happy for Nakatsuru. And the very ending of that panel, which is what really excited me the most, is that Torishima explained, he really does an amazing job, but he's slow. But he's so slow because he does his best until the very edge of the deadline. And this is why he uses so much time, is that he wants really to make it perfect. That's his reputation. And I want Nakatsuru to prepare himself for the great things ahead, as I see his hard work. And Nakatsuru, who answered, "Yeah, well, I will do my best to be up to your standards. Thank you very much for your support over the years." So it's just very really cute. Maybe something else is coming next, so we don't know. Nakatsuru is not really ready to retire, so I'm really eager. Like Torishima, I'm really eager to see what comes next for him. So it was a very cute panel, and of course they did a kamehameha at the end of the show because
Oh,
of
yeah.
course
You got to end it that way, of course.
as usual, it's a common thing. So yeah, it's pretty hard to take notes on that because they were showing also the scenes that he drew, the characters that he drew, um, uh, because we were not allowed to take any pictures. So yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. But I know that Japan Expo will in a few years actually show the full panel. So please look forward to that. So that was the the Friday panel. However, there was also a press conference, and this is where the juicy bits are.
Okay.
The press conference was a special conference with only certain press and people invited to ask questions, amongst which I was present there for some reason. Well, I was invited. I was like, yeah, I would like to come for this, and they sent me an email. They said, "Hey, by the way, do you want to come to the conference about the career of Nakatsuru, Toyotaro, and Torishima?" I was like, yes, I'm coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on now.
Yeah, so I'm game. This interview was almost an hour and a half. Well, of course, with the translations and everything, so it took a bit less time. And everyone was able to ask one question if they had one. And I was lucky enough to snag the first question
Oh,
and the
geez.
last question.
Oh, nice.
Because my last question was pretty short, and I showed the most enthusiasm, so I was given the mic. So I was very happy. But my goal was to ask questions. I had like 10 questions prepared, but obviously it didn't happen. But thankfully, most of the media that were present, including DB Times, Anime Land, dbz.com, which is a French website. We had also Sophia Le Geek, so a few people from a lot of different. Crunchyroll was also present. A lot of really important people. So they all asked questions that were relevant for everyone. So yeah, it was really fun. Again, sadly, we could not take any pictures or recordings, so note taking was very hard. But yeah, we managed.
Yeah, yeah.
dbz.com actually made a few recap in English, which is I highly recommend people who want to read the exact details on there. They can do it there, and it really supports a nice guy and it's written in English, so yeah, it supports a nice guy who pays his own coffee and pays his own way for everything. So highly recommend. I have my own notes, and I will publish my own article as well. I also want to shout out the translators who really did an amazing job explaining everything in a way that made sense. Toyotaro looked a little bit tired because he was most certainly jet lagged. But the thing that really cracked me up is that when we were all seated, Torishima arrived first. He said hello, everyone, and then he sat down. And then Nakatsuru arrived afterwards, and you see Torishima actually like slap his arm like, "Hey, you didn't say hello." So he scolded Torishima in front of everyone. Totoro also arrived and said hello, like everything was fine. Um, but yeah, everyone was very polite and very well mannered. But some of the questions were like, yeah, and Victoria Uchida was behind us, and
Oh, really? Nice, nice, nice.
yeah, he didn't wear his hat, so people didn't recognize him. But I clocked him in. I clocked him. Yeah, that's Victoria Uchida. I mean, I recognize his face and his glasses anywhere. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and I managed. I gifted him a little pin too, so I'm pretty happy to give a little something to take back home. And yeah, the first question that I asked was about the biggest influence to everyone, the biggest artistic influence, be it manga or something else, because I wanted them to talk about something that was outside of animation and manga.
Yeah.
Toyotaro, of course, said that at the time his biggest influence was, if you don't count Dragon Ball, was Kenshin, Rurouni Kenshin, Slam Dunk, and other manga from that time. You know, the late 90s.
Yep.
And he was also he really loved movies, and he was a big Star Wars fan when he was a kid. He really loved Back to the Future as a trilogy. And geez, I wonder. I would not have guessed. Yeah, sarcasm. Yeah, he loves Back to the Future, and it shows. And Torishima said he was a big fan of French literature. I believe this guy is secretly French. Like, if he was not a big boss leading magazines, he would be unionizing and striking all the time. He has that kind of behavior. And he actually gave his top three movies. His first, his top three movies were The Godfather, the Coppola one,
Yep.
the Roman Holidays. I don't know the name in English. Sorry, the one with Audrey Hepburn, and his ideal woman is Audrey Hepburn with short hair in this movie, the 1953 movie. And his last favorite movie was 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yep.
The Odyssey. So that's a perfect job, and he really appreciated what it would bring when it came to the future with AI, and that's something else that was mentioned later in the question. So it was like pretty good. And Nakatsuru also explained that, like Toyotaro, he was really influenced by the manga of his childhood. However, because he's older, yeah, the entire works of Leiji Matsumoto is a big thing. Um, the Castle in the Sky, and he really, really loved working on that, but really copying Matsumoto's traits, and that this is why he wanted to become an animator, to convey that kind of classical feelings. And there was a question about the fact that the proportion of children is dropping. When Dragon Ball started, there were like 10% of kids in Japan, and now there's less than 5% of kids. So how do you do shonen in this kind of situation? And this went into a big discussion, but mostly by Torishima, because Torishima speaks a lot. He has a lot to say.
Yeah, I
And
can
yeah,
picture him just like commanding the stage and just taking over from everyone.
yeah, but also he has the most experience. You know, he's the senpai of the other two.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, sure.
so it's kind of his job. And he says he had a big sense of criticism towards modern manga, in the sense that now you have online manga, so you have the algorithm, and because of the algorithm, it only offers you the same kind of reads, and this means you have a more narrow perspective of manga, and at the end, all of the manga is the same. And it's boring. You know, he finds modern manga very boring, and nothing is interesting anymore, and everything looks like the same. And new mangaka only don't really broaden their perspective. They only read manga. So if a mangaka only reads manga and becomes a mangaka, they will produce the same manga as everyone else, and in the
Right.
end, it all blurs together. So they don't have an individual artistic identity anymore. And yeah, I mean, this kind of manga is manga Starbucks or manga McDonald's. I'm verbatim. I'm quoting him, and everything has the same taste, and he finds it very, very boring. And he believes this is a big problem for modern shonen and modern magazines, because in the end, um, with digital manga, you need a credit card, you need a subscription, you need a smartphone. So young children cannot read anymore, and they are not they're not manga fans anymore. And he believes that's a bad thing for the industry in general. And yeah, so he really went on a tangent about us, and very, very relevant things. And the fact that children don't read manga anymore, um, for him, it's a problem with the tantos, the editors.
Mhm.
They should really find manga for children. They should really find manga that is properly paneled, because he says that, yeah, children can't read the manga in with regular pages with panels. No, and the problem is not the children. The problem is that your manga, the manga that you publish, does not have a cool clean page layout. Look at Toriyama's mangas; they were very clear, easy to read, and international. Nowadays, everything is cluttered and it's hard to read. It's a problem about not about the children, but about how which manga are published, and it's not the mangaka's fault. It's the job of the publisher, the tanto, the editor, to actually help the mangaka properly create the technique to create a good manga. And yeah, it's basically what he explains in his book, The Ultimate Manga Technique, and highly
Yeah,
recommend.
I was just going to ask that because it seemed like we just got that book over here in English as well. So it really seems like this was almost a part of like the Torishima media tour to promote the book a little bit. Like, of course, he's a staple of the industry, but it very clearly seems aimed at look at my expertise. I will tell you how to do this because I know how to do this.
Exactly. And they also announced the fact that the book is coming out in French in March, finally. Next March the book is coming out in French. I have the Japanese version, but it is a very good book. I mean, I highly recommend. So when we talk about the Sunday panel, I there's a rumor that maybe it was a skit, just to promote the book that was announced at the time as coming out in French. But yeah, it's a big situation. So. There were questions about the how mangaka actually had to relearn how to draw manga, mostly for the last movie of Slam Dunk,
Mhm.
and Torishima said that the movie was very boring, which was like, you cannot say that in public,
Yeah.
But yeah, he believes that the movie was made for fans of Slam Dunk, but would not bring new fans to Slam Dunk.
Right.
I haven't watched the movie. I haven't opened Slam Dunk in 20 years, so I personally don't have any opinions. But yeah, Torishima also explained that he only found the shoujo at the time when he became editor at Shueisha. He only found shoujo interesting, and he wanted to do the same depth, characterization, serious themes in shonen. So yeah, he's a big admirer of shoujo, and it's true that shoujo is often forgotten. But yeah, you should read shoujo too. It's very good themes and everything. And there was a question, and there's the juicy parts about Toyotaro is that since Toriyama is credited as a writer, as a scenarist
Yeah.
of Dragon Ball Super, now he's dead. What? How do you conceive? How do you think about the manga?
Right.
How are you going to do? So of course, I mean, we were explicitly forbidden to ask about the future of Dragon Ball Super.
Oh my God.
So
Yeah.
so it was kind of, technically legal, the best kind of legal.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah, Toyotaro actually explained that he when it came to Dragon Ball Super, especially in the later parts when he was not adapting the movies or the anime, he would actually write the story, send it to Toriyama. Toriyama would confirm, say it was okay or not, or make some adjustments. And sometimes Akira Toriyama himself would send stories or storyboards or ideas to Toyotaro. Toyotaro would actually draw the draft or the name, and then send it to Toriyama, and Toriyama would confirm, and then it would become the. So yeah, there were. Toyotaro explained basically that he and Toriyama were actually co-authors of the manga,
Yeah. Yeah.
and as such, uh, as he explained, I'm quoting Toyotaro here, a good part of the story actually comes from me. I don't think it's impossible for me to continue the story, but I don't think it's going to be easy or simple. So there's a hope that Toyotaro didn't just draw as a pure executant. So he was not just given everything and just draw it like he had input on the story. He actually invented Granola himself, and Granola is his favorite character because he presented it to Toriyama, and Toriyama immediately approved it. So his own sense of pride, like Toriyama approved of my OC.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a big feel for him because I fully relate to that kind of the high must be high.
Can I ask, did you get the impression that the questions about or not being able to ask questions about the future of Super, I mean, there's so much behind that. There's, of course, the Ioku stuff going on. There's the fact that we got the one bonus chapter that fleshed out, volume 24. And V Jump keeps saying every month, like, Dragon Ball Super manga will be on hiatus next issue. Like, how did that come across?
When it came to us, the media who were able to be present, we were very frustrated because we know that everyone wants to know where Dragon Ball Super is coming. However, as I understand it, Toyotaro is not in a decision-making power.
No, of course not.
In terms of what's being published and what's being decided. And I believe that he and Nakatsuru himself are even on the animation side, even if he does not decide anything. Nakatsuru does not decide the story, he just makes the drawings, and that's good. I believe they're very frustrated because they know that they're just employees in the end. They have no decision making power, and they are also frustrated they cannot speak about what's going on because, well, obviously they're not allowed. So this is why we were requested not to ask anything about that, and if we even mentioned it, we would be kicked out of the the conference, which is like, yeah, obviously. I don't blame the warnings. Perfectly fair. This is also why Victor Yoshida was very close to Toyotaro, so he would not say anything that would not be against the company.
Yeah, I can picture him like kicking the back of the chair and nudging him every so often, like, shut up, buddy.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But yeah, he was really a watchdog. Not mean one, but a chaperone. Let's say he was a chaperone for the situation. But yeah, between the legal issues and the Toriyama estate that is probably not being solved yet, the Shueisha and Capsule Corp Tokyo with Yoku, who had left Shueisha. Who knows exactly what's going on there? And obviously, even if they knew, I mean, it's in legal hands. They're not lawyers. We're not lawyers. Let the lawyers settle it. If you ever heard about the Candy situation, yeah, we're probably in for a few years. Hopefully less, but hopefully it gets solved before Candy. But yeah, it's very frustrating. But I mean, in the end, we felt sympathy for the people in front of us because we know, all of us knew that they couldn't do anything about it. And like, we just I sent them a message encouraging them to whatever goes next. We really feel for you. And yeah, Toyotaro actually had the chapter 104. He had the idea of it, but he was only given 3 chapters for the prelude to superheroes. So a lot of ideas had to be put aside, but he was given the chance to flesh out the pre-prelude for chapter 104. And I believe this was with Toriyama's approval at the time. So, because it was part of the contract for volume 24, Shueisha was allowed to say to the lawyers, yeah, this is okay, we can publish this. I'm speculating, so this is my own opinion and my own perception of things. So don't say that Toyotaro said that, but yeah, it's this is how I believe, and they had to publish volume 24 at some point. So yeah, this was part of the package that was approvable legally, but now who knows? So yeah.
Yeah, I got that too. It seemed like the easiest thing they could squeeze out without ruffling too many feathers. Like,
yes,
well, we got it. Like, we have to put out the volume, and we need another 45 pages. So, what do you think?
Yeah, and this was actually ideas that were worked with Toriyama at the time. So it was not coming out of nowhere. It was. I'm going to say it was not new content, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. They had that
And
legacy decision that they could point back to and say, hey, technically Toriyama already said yes to this. We just couldn't make it work then. We can make it work now. Let's get it in there.
exactly, at least that's how I perceive the thing from an outsider's perspective, with a little bit of knowledge of legal situation and how stiff things can be in Japan for that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, big feels in that regard. So yeah, it's I had many fears for Toyotaro because I know he's stuck and he's unable to do what he wants to do because of reasons that are beyond his they're out of his hands. So it's pretty interesting. There was also a question about Nakatsuru's way of drawing and how he became a character designer after Maeda, and how hard it was for him. And Nakatsuru said, it was pretty hard for me in the Majin Buu arc, but I already worked on some background character designs in earlier sessions, so it was just continuing that with more responsibilities. Torishima actually stepped in because, of course, he did. Nakatsuru has a way of speaking that is very hesitant because he is always finding his words and he's trying to uh, put his sentence in a correct way that is polite and humble. And he's pretty shy. So Torishima often took his hand and was like, "Okay, well, what Nakatsuru is trying to say is,"
Yeah. Yeah.
and his for Torishima, he said that Maeda's ability to reproduce Toriyama's trait was 80%, but Nakatsuru's is 95%. And the whole trivia that Toriyama was like, "Hey, I didn't draw this, right?"
Yeah.
The comment the pretty. So this is the only animator that Toriyama ever really acknowledged. And that's a big sentence that's used about Nakatsuru, and something that Torishima really likes to remind. And Nakatsuru is always very, very grateful, very honored by this. But yeah, at the time he spent, we had a very big team by the time of the Majin Buu era, a big army of animators, strong veterans about Dragon Ball and Toriyama's traits. So group effort. I didn't do it on my own. Please take the spotlight away from me. I'm just a random guy. So yeah, it was pretty important. There were questions about DBGT and whether elements were inspired, were used as inspiration for Toyotaro. Torishima said, I didn't participate in Dragon Ball GT at all. But yeah, Dragon Ball GT arrived when Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z stopped. The manga had finished, but at the time, and this was misquoted a lot online because I wrote it in past tense, and Dragon Ball fans cannot read. I
No,
hate
that
that.
is true. Do I know that?
So yeah. So at the time of Dragon Ball GT, a lot of people were relying on the Dragon Ball IP for jobs. It would be an economic problem for TV channels and Bandai and other partners if Dragon Ball were to stop. So they decided, well, Dragon Ball cannot stop. So that's how Dragon Ball GT came to be. It would be best if Dragon Ball couldn't continue a little longer, just to slow things down enough to allow people to hop on new other projects. And the simplest would have been to ask Toriyama to continue the manga, but he just finished, and Torishima knew that no, this lazy guy is never going to continue the manga. So
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to ask him anything. However, they did manage to ask him a few designs and a basic plot. And Torishima said, "Okay, I'm going to bring this to Toei." They brought the designs and the plot to Toei. I said, "You do with this what you want to do, or, make do with this. My hands are clean. I'm out." And Toriyama is out. So I'm giving you this. Have fun. So and Toei was like, "Well done. We don't have a manga, so yeah, they did DBGT based on that." And this is where Torishima was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, Dragon Ball GT, that was you, Nakatsuru, right?" And Nakatsuru, yes, you completely forgot that Nakatsuru was there. And yeah, in terms of plot, Toyotaro explains that he could not use Dragon Ball GT as inspiration because chronologically it's 10 years after, so from Super, not from the end of the from Super.
Sure. Yep.
But the inspirations are seen in Daima, and they're also seen in visual and aesthetics inspirations for Toyotaro. So, some landscapes, some character designs were inspired by GT. but not the general plot or the general concept because the timeline doesn't work. And of course, Torishima Nakatsuru's work on DBGT in terms of aesthetics really inspired the Toyotaro as well, because he was a kid at the time as well. So yeah, we have to understand that Toyotaro is 40. I think he's 46 or 47.
Yeah,
So
he's just a few years older than me. Yeah.
yeah. So but when it comes to timing, when Nakatsuru is in his 60s and Torishima as well, so it's there's an age gap there. There were also questions about CGI and AI, and the gist of it. If you want to link the big interview and the big questions, and the DBZ.com really transcribed correctly. But the gist of it is that tools are important, but what's important is not become the tool's tool. So, and it also shows that simplicity can be best, because Toriyama didn't have any, because he lived in the middle of nowhere, he didn't have access to any tones, manga tones.
Right.
Uh, the thing that you put to put depth and everything. So he did everything by hand, and he inked. There's not almost never any tones in Dragon Ball because it makes things simpler for him, and he was lazy. He didn't want to bother with tones, physical tones, cutting with a with a cutter, and nobody got time for that. Toriyama had no money for that, so he's like, I'm not going to do without, and this is also why he made Super Saiyan with white hair, so he didn't have to waste time inking. And AI it can reproduce some traits, but it's impossible for the AI to reproduce the expression of the characters. And yeah, Torishima really put a warning about AI in terms of you can make Ghibli idea kind of art style, but you can never produce the eyes of Miyazaki's. So it was important, but none of the three actually said something really bad about AI in terms of environment or principle, but more like it's completely useless and it's not useful. But however, the CGI for superhero Totoro thought that it was a very good idea to transcribe the traits of Toriyama's for the 3D. He really believes that it was an interesting experience in that way, but the CGI actually makes the traits too harsh and too stiff, which is pretty bad. And Torishima hops on that comment and say, well, the problem with Toriyama's trait, which is very delicate and very moving and very soft and very mochi, is that if you draw a Gekiga manga, a very realistic trait, and you try to draw that, but with a ruler. So it's like pretty outlandish, but yeah, it's the problem with new technology is that you would tend to make the backgrounds very detailed, and this would drown the entire action, and it would cause problems in terms of rendering animation. While Toriyama actually freehand everything, and actually he loved drawing combat because combat meant no backgrounds, and backgrounds Toriyama hated them so much because it was a waste of time, and yeah, he really didn't like drawing backgrounds. And of course, Toyotaro said he tried to ask scenario ideas to ChatGPT, but it was just a waste of time. And this is meant as a joke, so don't misquote him.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of this going around. Like, oh, here's this hack who traces things, asking ChatGPT. Look at him.
Yeah, but no, he said, yeah, just did it, for funsies, but not seriously. And obviously, he didn't bring anything useful. And he said, no, it just lost time. And yeah, everyone was laughing because of course, ChatGPT would not really work for that.
No, I literally just, was it yesterday? I was doing the same thing. I was like, I know I'm not going to get the info, but just as like a thought experiment, let me ask ChatGPT, hey, what do you know about VJump Festival? Do you have the dates for it? And it's like, well, I don't know, but if you look in, the summer issues of VJump, I'm like, yeah, that's what I was going to do. Cool. Thanks.
Thanks very much. They were also talking a lot about the interview with Matsuyama about how nothing is to learn from Dragon Ball in terms of values and
Yeah.
ideas. So this big interview really buzzed online, and Torishima was like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Oh,
I
that's so
said,
funny.
yeah, because not that. What do you mean? Not what do you mean? I don't remember the interview, but like, how? What do you mean? People are talking about it like it's no big deal, and he explained, Toriyama and I, we really like Tom and Jerry. So like that's simple. The cat and chases the mouse, and that's about it. What's important in animation and in the characters is characters and movements, and everything else you read, you have fun, and then you close the book and not a single thought, empty brain. That's it. For him, Dragon Ball doesn't go any further than that. And this is what's important, is that once he compares to Attack on Titan, and he says that once the anime ended, the manga stopped selling. And this is interesting to notice because if you compare it to Dragon Ball Naruto, because it's timeless, simple fun, which doesn't have a big philosophical contextualized message.
Yeah.
It's timeless. I mean, you have to realize that Super Saiyan, both in the manga and the anime, predates the fall of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, damn, dude, that's like a gazillion years ago.
There's a lot of people listening who weren't alive for that, which freaks me out.
Yeah, maybe even the parents weren't alive then.
Yeah.
Like, damn, dude, it's not impossible. But yeah, so in Dragon Ball Naruto, you find a type of shonen where the reader goes through the eyes of the main character and discovers the world through the eyes of the main character, and that's most important for children. Yeah, when you kind of quoting Torishima here. Sometimes you drink Coca-Cola or Orangina, which is a French drink, a French soda based on orange flavors.
Yeah, sure.
It tastes good, and that's nice. But when you're thirsty, you drink water. So Dragon Ball is water. And yeah, there was a question about how, and this kind of, sort of, and I believe Uchida was not very happy about this question, but I mean, sucks. And a question about how Toyotaro began as a doujinshika. So he started as a doujinshi artist, and as an author of fan manga. What does it mean, and how Toyotaro can talk about this experience? And he explained that he himself became mangaka to draw Dragon Ball. He did not draw Dragon Ball to become mangaka. So the order of events is the same as Kubota. Kubota became animator to work on Dragon Ball. Unlike Nakatsuru, who became animator and then worked on Dragon Ball. If that makes sense, the order of events.
Mm-hmm.
And he explains that if you really want to work on Dragon Ball in terms of manga, yeah, you can create your own doujinshi and give it to the Shueisha company and see where it goes. After all, this is how he started. And as a side note from me, this is how Nahao Ishii started as well. And this is how Junya Furusawa started as a merch artist. So it was important. And Torishima added that if you want to become a good mangaka, you have 3 points to respect. You have to study literature in Japanese to be good at using your words and expressing yourself. You have to make a lot of friends because humans are connected, and it's when you know each other that you really understand human existence. And when you draw manga, it means that you're actually drawing the world and people in the world. And you have to be strong because the mangaka is alone in front of his page, and you have to create your own universe. It's a very, very big effort that really requires a lot of energy. And Nakatsuru also said that when he drew manga, even if the scenario was made by Koyama, he said drawing manga is very hard. And especially because he's a slower artist, so it must have been especially hard for him. So it's and it was under Toriyama's supervisions, but even like that, yeah, mangaka is a very hard work, hard job to do. It's not very easy to make, and this is where the anecdote about a mangaka always does the same angles, but you, Nakatsuru, who worked in animation, you always do interesting angles, and it means you're very strong. And so, yeah, the big crunchy part, also a question that was like, it's not really the future of DBS, but kind of ish. They asked about the whether Dragon Ball was becoming a big IP like Star Wars with good and bad sides, and what is the future of Dragon Ball as a license in general. And Torishima was like, why do you ask us that? You have to ask Shueisha, you have to ask Toei Animation, or the company that is managing the rights of Toriyama's works. So this confirms that they really had no hand, no decision making about the future of Dragon Ball as a license, because they are not stakeholders in that regard. Originally, Dragon Ball is a story that Toriyama and me, so Torishima, worked together. But that's only one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is the fans. And this is an important quote I really want to highlight. So I'm really trying to really weigh in how important this is. We build and widen the world of Dragon Ball thanks to the support of fans. If the IP has to widen and become larger, they have to do it by listening to the voice of fans, and if they do that, it would be okay. However, if you widen the IP with the goal to make money, then it's going to all collapse, and I really don't want this to happen. So Torishima is really protective of Dragon Ball. In my opinion, he really wants it to thrive as its own thing and to be created by people who love it. If it makes money, good, but it should not be the primary goal. It should be a happy consequence, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There were questions about Goten and Trunks, who became gag characters when initially it was shown to be the future of Dragon Ball in a way in the Buu saga. Torishima was like, I don't want to answer that question. He passed the question on because he was like, I'm not going to answer this. And Toyotaro is the one who answers us about the 3 chapters that he did. He was really happy about the evolution of Trunks as a character. He really, really likes Trunks. And he was extremely happy to be able to write chapters where he was the main character, and he would love to do more. However, in these 3 chapters, I believe I did not manage to depict Goten correctly. And I would like, and I'm going to insist on the conditional here. Conditional has meaning. Tenses have meaning. Words have meanings, people. All of the words matter in a sentence. So I believe I did not really succeed in depicting Goten well, and I would like to have the occasion to do better with him next, if possible. So it's no certainty, but he would really like to do something with Goten in the future if given the opportunity and if the stars align. But he believes he did not depict Goten well in the prelude to Superhero because the main character was Trunks. And of course, Nakatsuru was like, well, I'm just an animator. I have no idea what to do with the story. So,
right.
Shrug, regular Nakatsuru shrug.
Well, let me pause and we'll go off the script here. I'm going to ask you personally as a fan, what do you think Toyotaro sees or feels in his own work? What did he not get right about Goten in those chapters? Is he just kind of too blank? Like there's nothing to him?
Yeah, maybe too. I mean, I really liked Goten in Superhero. In the manga version, because he's like super chill and he's making finger gestures to the girls, taking pictures of him.
Right.
He's a nice guy, He's not a single thought behind those eyes, but it feels very Goten in a way, like that smiley face, like not a single thought, like pretty cool. I would have loved to see more of him in a way that he should have been the one to come up with the position. Maybe he should have been the fan of the Clean God and then brought Trunks in, because Trunks, he's 16, 17. These things are more for 15-year-old Goten. He's younger, so it maybe should have been the other way around, as the first fan of Superhero Clean God, and then bringing Trunks in, but Trunks taking the lead later because he believes that in the end it's pretty cool. Because originally Goten was the first fan of Great Saiyaman, and Trunks was like, "What the hell is that?"
Right, yeah.
I believe there's a little something there that could have been better. But overall, And he's riding the Nimbus with his console was pretty funny. Um, protecting people was very funny, and the whole trying to get Trunks to not be afraid of ghosts and zombies was pretty funny. But personally, I'm not mad at Toyotaro for these preludes. I'm you know me, I'm a future Trunks fan, so I really like the difference that they made within the present Trunks, who is
Yeah, yeah.
say 17 at the time, and compared to the future Trunks, who was functionally an adult at the time. So it's a very good contrast. But yeah, it's the whole thing with the other students was pretty funny. I would have loved to see them in different schools because I believe that it would have been better if Goten was present in Orange Star while Trunks was in this elite academy of Blue Hall School.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
But that's a preference meeting that I believe. I believe Trunks should be more preppy and Goten should be more street.
Yeah.
Would have worked more in their characterization. Um, so yeah, Goten doing trying to learn the city life while he actually comes from the sticks, but he's more aware of regular life as a kid than Gohan ever was, because Gohan was adopted at age 4, so we can forgive him.
Right. All right. So I check you off here, but is there anything else that's kind of like critical from the special press panel here?
Canon. We had a question about
Oh,
canon.
geez. Sure. Yeah. Saw this going around of Toyotaro's. Do what you want to do with it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Basically, the question. This was, I believe, it was from Crunchyroll, if my memory serves me right. There's a big difference, big debate about what is considered canon or not canon. According to your expertise, what do you believe? And the translated, and Torishima was like, "What do you mean canon?" But he didn't understand the question, and then translators spend a lot of time explaining the whole concept of canon and continuities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Torishima was cackling. He was laughing his off of believing it's a completely stupid
I
discussion.
could totally picture him just in his head being like, "Who the fuck cares? What are you talking about?"
Yeah, that's my thought. I mean, I've made a graph about inspirations, about which works inspired which works.
Yeah.
So they explained it a lot, and Torishima explained himself. Well, I'm going to answer from my own point of view. So he really precise. I'm not speaking in the name of any company, but from my own perspective, Toriyama was a messy guy. He forgot things. He forgot continuity. He forgot characters. I mean, canon doesn't even exist in the initial 42 volumes, so whatever, dude.
Right.
And most importantly, about Toriyama, he was someone who really wanted to please fans. So he made stories without really thinking about it harder. Whatever works. There's no even in original Dragon Ball. There's no continuity or order. He just made stories that went together and whatever. So you do whatever you want with that. Toyotaro then answered, I like almost every single Dragon Ball work that exists because I watched and read, so he experienced everything. For me, everything is more or less canon in my head because I have seen everything. But it's not really my role to determine what is canon or not. And he uses the word canon in English. He uses the canon, which has a Japanese.
That's a key thing there, is especially as you're describing the translator trying to get this concept back and forth to them, because there are, we've talked about this a lot in the show, like the phrase of like the official continuity or official story or real story, which are all like compromises for getting toward the English word canon here. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work. And he believes, Toyotaro really believes that he doesn't really decide what is official continuity, if there's any, because there's no official continuity. It's there's a big pot of official things, and every official licensed creator takes from the official pot and runs with it.
Yeah.
You have. If you want to take the concept of Super Saiyan 4 and add it to your video game, if you are a Bandai video game, go for it. If you want to take the Tree of Might, take the Tree of Might. But even Toyotaro expressed himself that the fact that there are contradictions between official works doesn't bother him. He doesn't care. Everything is canon in his head, and he just takes whatever. And he actually quoted, and this is where you need know that Toyotaro is a real one, and you're like, yes. And I said yes when he mentioned it. For me, Dragon Ball Online is canon for me, because Dragon Ball Online is, Dragon Ball Online is the best game ever, so best concept, and Toriyama was heavily involved in it.
Right.
So he explicitly mentioned Dragon Ball Online as part of his canon.
We all know that Toyotaro is a real one.
Yeah, he's a big fan. I mean, I was talking to Yuya Takahashi not like yesterday, and I told him I believe there's a big competition in my head about who is the biggest fan of Dragon Ball between Toyotaro, who really expresses characters and concepts, Takahashi himself, who really expresses emotions and transformation with intensity, Nakatsuru with his soft straight. So everyone has their own strengths, and yeah, Toyotaro is a big fan of Dragon Ball as a whole, as an IP, and to him everything is worth. For me, it's important to really confirm his word that for him everything is canon, and he believes it's important. It's better if each fan decides what is canon to them in their own continuity and in their own mind, and you take whatever works for you as a watcher.
And that's funny because, like, that doesn't work for people. They want to be told.
yeah, but Dragon Ball fans are lazy. So no, everything is canon. Everything works. And Toriyama participated in many things. And I mean, most of us consider the Trunks TV special canon over the actual manga chapter. Mostly with Trunks' first transformation when discovering future Gohan's body.
Yeah.
But the real canon is not that. Trunks was already Super Saiyan before future Gohan died.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Similarly, when the game Dragon Ball Z Kakarot came out, and it wasn't necessarily pitched as like the canon story, but it was following manga content, for lack of a better phrase, with additional Toriyama creations along the way. Spoilers: Toa and Mira show up at some point along the way. But then when we got to the Bardock and Trunks inclusions, like, yeah, it was the TV special versions of those. And I thought that was especially notable with Bardock because we've gotten Dragon Ball Minus. And I was expecting the Bardock DLC for Kakarot to kind of like do the Toyotaro weave of like incorporating Minus into it along the way. And it didn't. But yeah, I think the Trunks and Bardock are like the key examples of the Toei versions kind of like overwrote the actual Toriyama canon there.
I mean, Toriyama saw the Bardock special and said, "Hey, that's cool," and he integrated Bardock in a panel of the manga. And for the Trunks TV special, he never acknowledged it because he published his chapter, side story before.
Yeah.
But it became the canon in the DBS anime because those scenes were reanimated for DBS. We don't talk about Blanks, but it's. I mean, it was reanimated. So for DBS, the anime, the manga is not canon. It's the anime that's canon. So it's like whatever. Take whatever works for you and do your own canon. Is Toyotaro's order, so I follow the order. Let's do that.
Sure.
And of course, Nakatsuru was like, "Well, I don't really have any opinion on this because Nakatsuru.
I'm just an animator. Leave me alone." Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't do the story. I don't believe he's really actually interested in the story itself. He's like, okay, I have this scene to make, and I'm going to make it awesome, and that's his job. And he focuses on that, and he doesn't want to step on the toes that is outside of his specific role. I mean, Nakatsuru really believes in his own role and his own line. He stays in his lane.
Yeah.
And everyone gave an anecdote about working with Toriyama. And how the Torishima went on a tangent about how Toriyama really hated working but loved drawing. And he would finish his chapter in a day and a half and then go have fun, such as drawing 4,000 to 5,000 drawings of his car, because he didn't know how to tweak it and change his the colors of the car. It was a Jaguar Mark II. I know shit about cars, but it's a very important car. And in the end, he actually chose the first color that he ever drew.
Yep, that's how it goes.
So yeah, it's how it goes. Nakatsuru mentioned that he had not seen Toriyama for over 20 years before his passing. Even if they worked on Daima together, it was a distance. That they mostly email working. And because Toriyama died during the production of Daima, he really worked very hard to integrate his last words into the designs of Daima, and this was important to him as a way to say farewell. And Toyotaro was really struck by the fact that Toriyama didn't like working, but Toriyama explained, I really like the easiest to me is combat scenes because I don't have to draw background and it's easier. And Toyotaro was like, but combat scenes are the hardest.
Yeah.
And then Torishima said, yeah, it's because in combat scenes you don't have to draw a background. And yeah, backgrounds. For the first Tenkaichi Budokai, Torishima explained that Toriyama drew the background, the building behind the Tenkaichi Budokai. But he quickly realized that he would have to draw this background a lot. So he had Krillin destroy the building, so he didn't have to draw it again.
Yep, that sure sounds like Toriyama.
And I also, the last question that I asked was about harmony cells and who drew them.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't know that harmony cells were the names of that thing. So I had to explain what was... I had to explain to Nakatsuru what was a harmony cell specifically, and Torishima was also very surprised and grateful to find out that this had a name. But yeah, Nakatsuru himself didn't really remember that there were so many of them. So I had to give him an example of Goku punching Vegeta in the face in the Saiyan Saga, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I know what scene you're talking about," and he recalled the image I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he believes that most of those drawings were credited in the credits as people in charge of the background in general. But yeah, at the time, credits were like if, and he doesn't remember the names, and pretty. So, sadly, the last question was like, well, I don't really remember. Sorry. So that was a press conference in a nutshell. Yeah, it was a very interesting situation, mostly about the canon and Goten and Trunks and how everything was perceived. It's a fascinating situation. And then we had a panel about transformation, which is actually a panel about voice acting and how Patrick Borg, the adult voice of Goku in French, worked with the animation perspective. It was an interesting panel, but going into depth into it in the podcast might not be relevant to our interests because we had the Sunday panel, which is much more interesting.
Yep. All right, let's do it.
And the Sunday panel was about the first project of original manga by Toyotaro.
So it
was not a mistranslation. It was written as is in the descriptive of the panel back in June. I tweeted about it. I tweeted the screenshot and I'm going to read it in French slowly. So it's very short, but I'm going to read it in French and you're going to recognize the words.
Yep.
Toyotaro, le mangaka de Dragon Ball Super, s'entretient avec l'éditeur qui a marqué l'histoire du manga, Kazuhiko Torishima, au sujet de son premier projet de manga original. Torishima lui dévoile ses techniques qu'il a peaufinées tout au long de sa carrière. So Torishima is going to unveil his strong techniques that he has worked on over his career. So clearly, Toyotaro, the mangaka behind Dragon Ball Super, is going to talk with the editor who marked history of manga, Kazuhiko Torishima, about his first project of manga original, so original manga. There's no doubt about it, It's very clear. And oh, surprise Pikachu face, this was exactly what happened.
You say it's very clear, but it also really feels like, much like Torishima doing his book tour here, this feels like another stunt as part of the book tour.
Yes, it was also my opinion afterwards, and actually it seems that some people really took it the wrong way. That I said, well, maybe it was a way to promote his book, which is not a bad thing,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Toyotaro cannot draw anything Dragon Ball at the moment because reasons,
Sure. Yep.
and he's still employed by Shueisha, so he has to be given work. I mean, he could be paid to do nothing, but I mean, that's
Right.
I mean, bad idea, you know. So as the panel started, before the panel started, they showed a QR code with the text saying Toyotaro's scenario. So the script, you know, the script of Toyotaro, it's a name, so it's a manga draft of 45 pages, which is his first project of an original manga. So it's a one-shot manga that he drew. And Torishima appeared on stage as Dr. Mashirito, so with the lab coat and everything, to tear him apart. And they welcomed us, so the staff mentioned. Also, we got to see the name on our phones, because you have to scan a QR code, you need your phone, and even if they said no pictures are allowed, this was before the panel, and the rule was no pictures of the panel of people or the screen. So there was a bit of confusion there, and of course the link was made public immediately afterwards, because I mean, why not? And I was not the only one who shared the link. Like I shared the QR code, and people shared the link afterwards. This is normal in the West. It seems that in Japan they would expect this to be staying only for attendees, and you would keep a secret. But I mean, I'm more in a vision of if you are not able to attend Japan Expo because it's expensive, because it's far away, it's normal to at least share the information that is available to be shared. This is my philosophy of things. So, I mean, I did not steal any pictures, but yeah, it's so yeah. Of course, I had a moment saying, "Yes, I told you so," to everyone who said, "No, it's a mistranslation," and no, it's not written as such. So Torishima explains, and he came in. I'm going to tell you very harsh things, Toyotaro. So please breathe in, and you see Toyotaro actually making a breathing exercise. Like, yes, I'm going to breathe in. So he was not ambushed in public to criticize his one shot. He was aware what's going to happen. He was,
Right. Like this was the
everything was
plan the whole
prepared.
time. It's not like he
Yes.
just showed up. It's like, oh God, Torishima's trying to tear me a new one. Like this was rehearsed. They knew this was happening.
Yeah, it's presented as a boring meeting between a mangaka and his editor, but Torishima said maybe it's going to be a confrontation. You know, he played it up. You know, he played up his role as Dr. Mashirito. Cancelled, rejected. You know, and he used the translator used the pronoun tu, which is more familiar between Torishima and Toyotaro, instead of the polite vous, which is more more polite way of addressing someone. But then, you know, Torishima is like 20 years older than Toyotaro, so using tu is, I mean, it's not seen as rude, but it's seen as more familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So Toyotaro expressed that he was very, very moved by how everyone received him in France, how Dragon Ball Super was very popular, and he's also very stressed and nervous, but happy and honored to present his work to the OGDB editor. And he really looked more energetic than Friday morning, because he was probably less jet lagged. And I was happy. It was earlier in the afternoon. The press conference was at 10 a.m., so it was very early. But the panel was at I believe it was 2 in the afternoon. So he was maybe he had better sleep. And they started the panel with Torishima explaining that when he saw that one panel in the carnival last year that was missing one scene, I said, "Oh, it's very bad. What a shame. Something is missing from this panel." You know, he criticized Toyotaro on Twitter, and
Yes.
yeah, we noticed. You know, people noticed, and he said, "Yeah, when I saw that, I wanted to speak to you, Toyotaro, about this, and the reason why I wanted to look at Toyotaro's manga is because your page doesn't work. I want to talk to you because, yeah, this is missing." The angle of when you establish an action scene, it has to be dynamic. You need a long shot to establish the distance between the characters, a medium shot to establish the personality of the characters, and then a top shot, vision from above or from the side. to give more dynamism to the shot, and there was one angle missing. And he explained what is in his book, that an action shot needs more breathing space. You need anticipation. You need the characters gathering energy, and then the action starts, and it's more punchy and more exciting instead of having action on every single panel. Yeah, so he compared those pages, that specific Dragon Ball Super page with Toriyama page with Goku and versus Piccolo, and Goku and Piccolo versus Raditz, to really show and Goku and versus Vegeta, to really show the distance and the snappy action. Well, it's kind of hard to compare Toyotaro with the genius of that Toriyama was when it came to paneling, but I mean, it's for a game.
Right.
And Torishima mostly really put the blame on the Tanto, the editor, for not catching this error, because it is his job as his first reader to see these flaws and help and ask the mangaka to redraw. And I think he really hit hard on poor Uchida-san. He said the editor doesn't understand the basis of manga. And he shows the pages of his book to say, okay, this is how you should analyze it. And he's an example of the long shots to show distance, the characters creating anticipation, and the fact that this is the basis of manga. When Toyotaro really loves action in Dragon Ball, he's missing this part of anticipation and calm moments before strict action. I personally believe that he got it better with the epilogue of the superhero arcs, where you see the combat with Goku and versus Gohan, and fighting against Broly, and Gohan versus Goten and Trunks. Those scenes had more anticipation and better long shots and stuff like that. So I believe he got better. So I really want to cheer him on in that regard. So I'm very happy about Toyotaro, who has learned a lot as he drew, because he first started as he didn't draw his own story. He was drawing by command. He had the toy cliff notes and even the toy storyboard to draw on his own. So he had to learn as he went.
Yeah. It's really, especially having all these folks together on stage, it really just feels like a full franchise celebration and debriefing at the same time.
They really conveyed love for everything Dragon Ball in general all the time, regardless of who was on stage. So Nakatsuru was not on stage for this one, but when he was on stage, he was also included and conveying his own love for such things and for his work, and how everyone accepts his work and really likes his work. And to really prove his point, Torishima said, "Okay, well, let's abandon Dragon Ball and talk about what you drew on your own." And yeah, it became a love. If you read Bakuman, read Bakuman. It's a good manga.
Oh yeah.
This was a live reunion between the editor and the mangaka presenting his one shot. A key note is that what Toyotaro said is that he presented this one shot to his own editor before presenting it to Torishima, and as such, if he hadn't, Torishima would have been much harsher, because Torishima was ruthless. But he had already fixed a few things through his own editor beforehand. So he said, "Yeah, I mean, thankfully I fixed it before, because otherwise, it would have been harder." And he explains that in his 45 pages, Torishima explains, I mean, it's too long for just one action scene. You have to establish your character first. You started with the chasing scene instead of establishing the importance and the special thing of your character. Which Torishima explains that Toriyama only succeeded in doing this well, according to him, twice, to establish the main character, the personality, and the charm of the story in the first few pages. And those successes were Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball, of course. Because on the first page of Dragon Ball, you see Goku with his seesaw. He's rolling on a log. He's talking to a monkey. He's relaxed. He has a crazy haircut. He has a tail, and he has a very beautiful Chinese background on the first page. So really, this charms the reader very early on, where he explains that Toyotaro did not succeed in doing this for his one shot, because in his one shot, there's nothing special in the first few pages. and 3 chapters of Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball was only 15 to 19 pages each. It's too long to only have one action scene. You have to establish better characters and really work better on that aspect of how to cut your chapter into something that will interest the readers into a new protagonist. And yeah, the Toyotaro explains, yeah, I really didn't. I really wanted to do a combat scene, but I didn't really present the characters well to the reader. I didn't really consider the reader's age, even if I wanted to do something that would appeal to most people. Yeah, if you really establish the characters well, it's a success. But if you don't, it's going to be failures. And if you readers, if you read a new manga and you see in the first few pages you don't really establish the character early on, it's going to be a bad manga. You might as well throw it away, which is pretty harsh. And I'm going to go on a slight tangent here because it really shows the difference between anime and manga, in my opinion. And I have a clear example in mind, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Cardcaptor Sakura. In the first anime episode, you have the background of Sakura when how she's discovered the book with the cards in it, and how the cards became free. And at the end of the episode, she catches her first card. So this is how you are introduced to the character in the anime with the background. But in the manga, you start with Sakura catching the card with the special powers and items and a graphical aesthetics presentation of Sakura herself. And then you explain later how this came to be. You start directly in the action. So yeah, it's important to see the difference between the manga and the anime in that section. And yeah, I believe the Torishima knows his job. I mean, he did not become the chief editor for no reason. But yeah, showing the difference between the anime version of Cardcaptor Sakura and the manga version of the first chapter really conveys this, because Toyotaro is a fan of the anime. He was not a fan of the manga first and foremost. And this really shows in how he draws action, because he draws action as a storyboard. And I believe that Toyotaro would make an amazing storyboard artist.
Yeah. And we got at some point, his storyboards, like his early drafts for super chapters. And it's really funny thinking back on Toriyama, like he just kind of like skipped steps in his drawing process. The other thing I want to say before I forget it is, you mentioned Cardcaptor Sakura. To this day, my wife and I still go windy whenever it's windy outside because of that goddamn first episode of Cardcaptor Sakura.
Yes, I mean, obviously, it's obviously the car, especially where you live. You know, it's we don't have this problem here in France. It's not as windy, but yeah, it's like I fully feel you on that aspect. Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting to see how Toyotaro came from being a fan of the anime and became a mangaka, where Kubota was a fan of the anime and became an animator. And
yeah,
if you look at Kubota's work as an animator, he really focuses on different angles and action scenes and traveling scenes. You know, the camera that tracks movements. This is his strength. So I don't think that Kubota would make a good mangaka, because he doesn't have this page-turning manga vision, where Furusawa would have done an amazing job, where Dragon Garo Lee does an amazing job at that, and where Nahou Oishi also does an amazing job at that. Because they were first and foremost the manga fans and not anime fans. So it's a good thing to really recognize the strengths of everyone, depending on their preference and where they come from as fans. Of course, Toyotaro loves the manga, though.
Right, of course. Yeah, I mean, he was of that age, so I mean, all of it would have been ubiquitous. But yeah, I get it.
But he comes from being a fan of the anime first. And it really shows also in his Ujinshi that he really cuts the pages as a storyboard for the anime, rather than really analyzing how a manga page works. Torishima really spent a few long minutes explaining to Toyotaro what was wrong in his one shot, and then he asked, "Okay, how would you fix it?" Instead of telling him how to fix it, he explained what is wrong and why it doesn't work, and then Toyotaro would say, "Oh yeah, I have to fix it maybe by giving in the main character's first appearance, giving a hint of what his power is and why it's so special, instead of just saying it in the middle of the one shot. Really shows something special about his sword, something about his powers, something about his." Main character design. You know, the joke about you recognize instantly the main character of a shonen because he has a crazy hairstyle or something like that.
Right.
Well, it's something that Torishima approves of, be it with colors and everything. And yeah, so something important about really intriguing the reader right in the first few pages and not really ending with the big combat scene, the cliffhanger at the end of the episode. It doesn't work like that for manga. And yeah, it's important. And it's also important to think about the kind of readers you want to draw in. Because your work is not going to be read by a few dozen people, it's going to be read by thousands. And if you can't take the criticism of your first reader, who is going to be your tanto, your editor, well, the criticism of 1,000 angry kids reading Weekly Shonen Jump, it's going to be different.
Yeah, especially these days when they have direct access to you on social media. That's got to be a nightmare.
Yeah, this is why many doujinshi artists, when they become pro, they delete everything. Like this, they disappear. Yeah, I'm gone. So yeah, Toyotaro made some corrections in his own shot, explaining what he would do a bit differently. And the first drawing needs to really establish a protagonist and show special characteristics. And yeah, he kind of praised Toyotaro in a way. Torishima, he praised him, saying, "You did a few good corrections between your first draft with the first editor and me." And this at the end of the panel, he gifted a few English copies of his book to Torishima, including Android 20 got one. There was a cosplayer dressed as Android 20, so he got one. The books were signed by Toyotaro and Torishima, and this was also a way to announce that the book would be coming out in French.
Right. Yep.
So in next March, I believe this is a fail because it should have come out during Japan Expo. We knew it. I mean, the English copy came out a few months ago. Doing the French translation and putting it out for Japan Expo would have been possible, but for whatever reason, it was not done. I believe this was a bad move. What's important to know is that we don't know if the whole thing was just a theater scene, so Torishima could present his book. We don't know if the one shot is actually a real thing that Toyotaro wanted to publish or not publish.
Yeah. So hold on. So let's get into that a little bit, because then there's a lot of stuff flying around like, oh, well, like he legally can't publish it now because it's debuted. It's like, well, I mean, he's on contract with Shueisha to some degree. So like, no matter what he produces, I mean, without knowing what his actual contract is, like Shueisha probably owns it. And like, it's not really up to him to decide.
Yeah. But the thing is, the entire thing, if it was just the first few pages, yeah, but I don't think Shueisha would ever publish something that was, I would say leaked, but it's not leaked. It was officially shown as a memo, as a draft.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be published as is, even with corrections, because, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to publish something that is already out there. Yeah. Even if it was out there by them, you know?
Right. I could see it showing up on like Jump Plus, a couple months down the line as like, check out the thing from Toyotaro that was used in France.
Japan Expo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe for funsies like that. I mean, after all, the name is published on the V-Jump Shueisha website. So
right, exactly.
The link is on the region.
Yeah, it's on their own domain. So clearly they own it. They can do whatever they want with it. Yeah, it's not, I don't expect this to be published in like by itself. It's not long enough to be published by itself. So it would either...
The one shot is long enough, yeah. But for Weekly Shonen Jump or for V-Jump, so one shot, it fits. I mean...
Right. Yeah, but not as like a print publication by itself or anything. So...
No, not as a volume. Maybe at the end of one chapter, one book,
Right. Well, what I'm getting at is like, what if we got, the lost Toyotaro archives? Victory Mission had never got a physical release. So like, I don't know, throw that at the end of a Victory Mission compilation or something.
Yeah, I agree. I want that. I mean, I want. Actually, he signed my Victory Mission book. Yeah, the small book that came with the V Jump at the time, and he also signed the Dragon Ball AF. So I mean, kind of confirming that he is indeed playable.
Yeah. There's been a lot of that.
We all knew, but I mean, with Uchida behind him, he actually signed that book. So yeah, I mean, we can say that it's officially confirmed that Toyotaro and Toyobo are the same person.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, we don't know if it was the whole thing was a skit just to promote Torishima's book, well, just between inverted commas, exaggerating.
Right.
We don't know if the one shot is ever going to see the light of day as a finished one shot published in V Jump or Weekly Shonen Jump, to fill in. So if someone is on hiatus for whatever reason, we need a one shot to fill in. Okay, we can do that. We don't know if he's going to be doing something else because he's not able to draw Dragon Ball at the moment for legal reasons, for rights reasons, for I would not be surprised if Shueisha asks him to draw something that are one shots or short stories just to keep him selling books or magazines because it makes sense that he's an employee. He's paid to draw, and if he draws but it's not published, they're not making any money out of him, doing manga. So it's a big question. So as I had announced in June, Toyotaro presents his sorry to Torishima, and Torishima tears him apart on stage. Was indeed what happened. But he mostly tore apart the editor rather than Toyotaro himself, because he believes that the fault of the issues with Dragon Ball Super come from the editor and not Toyotaro himself.
So you got Uchida just like crying off stage.
Yeah, I mean, he was not on stage, but he was probably either on the side or in the public. And yeah, I mean, I would not want to be him. Like, it was pretty harsh, but I mean, it's not wrong.
Yeah, but wrong. I also think Uchida was in an interesting place because his editor-in-chief for a good period of time was Akio Ioku. And we know how much of Toriyama's ear Ioku had. So like, even though he was the editor, I feel like he probably had a different, as opposed to just being an editor on a Weekly Jump series. And sure, you have an editor-in-chief at Weekly Jump. This is a little different when it's your editor-in-chief is the head of the Dragon Ball room, is Toriyama's right-hand man. So like, I kind of cut them all slack around the corners.
Yes, I forgive them too, because it's. I mean, there's a big IP, and yeah, they all. I believe they're all doing their best, but I think they do need a loud foreigner to really tell them like it is, and not really be the whole Japanese professional protocol.
Yeah.
And it's good that Torishima doesn't care anymore, because he answers to no one. Torishima is like and this is during the whole skit or presentation. Often enough, Chris Nath, who was present and doing the presentation, she often had to punish, in between inverted commas, Torishima, saying, "You can't say that. No, don't say that. They're going to ban you from the country." So it's like the whole, dumb guy and punishing guy Japanese humor situation. They do that often in Koso Koso radio show. But yeah, it's so we don't know if Lost Samurai is going to be ever a thing. We don't know if it was just for this specific for Japan Expo only. We don't know if Toyotaro is going to be working on other series and other one-shots while the Dragon Ball situation gets solved. We don't know if Torishima is coming back to V Jump or Weekly Shonen Jump or Dragon Ball in general, because his book is actually published by Shueisha. Dr. Mashirito's Ultimate Manga Techniques is published by Shueisha. So, I mean, as an author, maybe he could come in as a consultant, because he is not coming back as a regular, editor. He was way above that. He's not going to take a job that's below the job he had before. So there's a big bunch of questions there to be still asked. And yeah, it was very fun to see, and really Torishima explained what makes a good manga and used Toyotaro's one shot as an example of some things that you shouldn't do. But he also praised us a few things like the action scenes was good, the paneling was decent, and I mean, I believe I read it. I believe the paneling is fine, but I believe it's a very rough draft. So yeah, the action is very cinematographic because you can see that Toyotaro is a fan of movies. So it was interesting. I mean, the thing in the actual one shot is interesting, but it's not publishable as is, even with polished drawings. You know, you have to really rework the composition of the story.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, right, we've kind of covered it. Maybe it'll show up on digital service, maybe it'll show up in VJump, but it would need to be reworked. Like, it's not in a place to be released. It was really for actually, it could be that Toyotaro has been pitching a whole bunch of different series to him, and this is one of them where they said, we don't want to publish this, but let's use this as an example for this panel, for this skit. And it occurred to me what you're describing was a manzai, the like dual Japanese comedian. That's kind of like a spin on what they were doing here, where you had Torishima tearing him apart. Like, it's not quite like straight man kind of style humor, but a little bit of it.
A little bit, yes. It was interesting, but also, I mean, he didn't really scold Totoro as much as people would believe. He really, the stray bullet went straight to the editor, the editor of Dragon Ball Super. It was not about Totoro himself, and there was a few criticism of the character aged up by 10 years. It was not necessary. So there's a few details, but of course they couldn't go into the whole thing in the 45-ish minutes that we had on stage. So
yeah.
I mean, this is just a prelude of what a mangaka and editor reunion should look like. And yeah, it was. I mean, I really liked the panel. It was very interesting. I would have loved to be able to take some pictures of the comparison pages that they put on screen, but I mean, they're findable. I mean, they're pages from the book, so if you have the books, you can see the pages that I was referencing. But yeah, and since the one shot's link is public, I mean, you can just grab the one shot, and it's written in French, but I mean, the text itself isn't that important. I mean, you can have a good feel of the manga regardless of the language that's spoken. Basically, it's a half demon, half human character that is not able to harness the power of his father, who wanted to create a peaceful world between demons and humans, but was killed by demons. There's a Demon Slayer vibe. There's a feudal Japan vibe. There's an Inuyasha vibe, and there's a bit of what's the name? There's a little bit of Freerun vibe in the world building in general. And there's a princess to be saved, so it's a very bare bones, basic principle of what you would imagine a good basic shonen manga could be. So I personally believe that it was made specifically for Japan Expo for this panel, but I also believe that it shows that Toyotaro is not doing is actually working, even if he's not being published currently. So yeah, I mean, he did the Victory Mission ending. He did the Super Divers chapter. He did the chapter 104, which came out in February, so it was not that long ago. So people are saying, yeah, Dragon Ball Super has been on hiatus for like 2 years. I mean, it's not true. It's simply not
doing
true.
Stuff.
The people are often exaggerating those things.
Yeah. So. Dragon Ball fans not reading, exaggerating. What are you talking about? Was that the last big thing really at the convention then?
That's about the last big thing. Yeah, I mean, we had a few. There were a few side interviews with Japanese, French media, French radio, national radio. So, I mean, it was on TV. I mean, the France Info, which is the main the news outlet in France, which is public service. Did an interview with him, which is available with subtitles in English. France Inter, which is a special cultural radio, also did an interview with him and Torishima. There were a few other interviews with Le Monde, and which is a main newspaper. Le Monde is like the Guardian, but
Got it.
French version, so a big mainstream newspaper. So when I showed up, I was fun story is that I was housed by my great uncle, so a cousin of my grandmother's in Paris for this event. I was lucky not to have to pay for lodging in summer in Paris, and like he's well into his 60s. This cousin. Um, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I heard about the convention you're going to on TV." I was like, "Yeah, I know." I mean, I showed up with my purple hair, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to a manga and anime convention." He knows what manga and anime is. He knows Goldorak because yeah, he's in the right age group. But he didn't understand the importance of the whole thing. And it's like when it showed up on TV, and Junji Ito, who was also present, showed up on TV. I was like, "Oh yeah, you got this right? Yeah, I got a signature by him. I got a drawing by Junji Ito actually." So it was a very, very fascinating situation. Sadly, they were not allowed to draw during the autograph sessions, neither Torishima nor Nakatsuru nor Toyotaro, and pictures during the autograph sessions were also forbidden because they came in an official capacity. But Junji Ito allowed it, so like I have a picture doing a heart hand with Junji Ito, so that's good.
I just pieced together. You're talking about Goldorak. Is it Grendizer? Is that the original name for it? I'm like, what is this? What is this series? Right, I know exactly what this is. Got it. Go Nagai stuff. Sure.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a big mecha series that is turning 50 this year, and there was a big showcase and big exhibition in Japan Expo, and also in the subways and the train stations in the entire city of Paris. So the whole thing was celebrating the 50 years of Massinger. Goldorak is the name.
October 75. Jeez, man.
You're old. We're all old.
Well, I'm not quite that old. I wasn't there for the 70s debut, but
but French people were because I'm just going to give you a small data.
Yeah.
So Goldorak, the name in French, started in France in 1978.
Yeah, so not that far removed. Yeah.
Yeah, from the original air date in Japan. Yeah, we are. Told you, this is big history in France, and the singer of the French opening was present in Japan Expo, and many kids were present because they wanted to get a signature for their parents. You know, an autograph by the singer of the opening of Massinger for their parents who are in their 50s or 60s. Yeah, you have to go there and get me a signature by Enrique, the name of the guy. And the kids were like, "Oh, who the hell is it?" But it's super important for them. So yeah, he was there, and a fun guy. I mean, I had the chance to talk to him. A few YouTubers were present too. There was also a manga contest. They announced the winners. Shueisha Manga Plus made a contest for foreign authors. So we had the pre-selection was 10 finalists and 3 winners, and they got to be published in weekly in Shonen in Shueisha Plus, in Shonen Plus, in Japanese. So available in Japan. You could read a French manga. You could read 3 French manga.
Oh, very cool.
It's not the first time, actually. Plenty of French manga are published in Japanese, so we're invading them back.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it was a very lovely convention, lovely people and lovely authors. Happy to share the love for Japanimation and manga and general animation projects. We also had the makers of Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Oh my God, it is on my table upstairs. I haven't started it yet. I have been looking forward to this game, and I just have not had the time. That's incredible.
Do the thing, but prepare some tissues. You're going to need them because it's very, very moody for a good reason.
Sure.
They were here. They were doing a panel about motion capture and video game publishing in general. They were, Junji Ito was present for celebrating his whole works, horror works, and also his guts. He was also present on TV and everything. French YouTubers and Franco-Japanese YouTubers. We had also Centuria, which is a new up-and-coming manga about pretty horror and kind of between Berserk and Vinland Saga. there were a lot of different kinds of people and different kinds of manga being presented and first published in French for Japan Expo, even if the official publication date was a few months ahead. A lot of josei and shoujo authors were also coming. I sadly could not attend all of the panels because all of the panels were taking place at the same time and in a big event, a huge event. Japan Expo, the place is huge. There's like 5 big scenes. We also had Yoko Takahashi, who is the singer of the opening of Evangelion. Great Central Thesis, because there was the 30 years anniversary of Evangelion. Yes, Evangelion is turning 30 years this year.
I don't like that. Stop saying these things.
I am sorry. No, I'm not sorry at all. So, but the producers of Evangelion were present. The producers of the movie was present. The producers of so Studio Kara was present. It was not Gainax, they're not at Gainax anymore. I sadly did not get to meet them, but because I wanted to gush about Furikuri, because Furikuri is my most favorite thing. Sadly, for the screening, they screened the movie, the last Evangelion movie. They screened it on the evening of Saturday. I was there. It was a good movie. Already seen it, but yeah, with the opening of Yoko Takahashi's concert first, then a panel about the creation of the movie and the accomplishment of Evangelion, and then the movie. It was a pretty big event. So
yeah,
even if you consider that the entrance tickets to the convention is pretty expensive, I mean, you have concerts, you have idols, you have authors, you have autographs, you have movie screenings, you have unique activities, prizes, and cosplay contests. You have the World Cosplay Summit. So in the end, for the big event for 4 days, it's decent. It's not a ripoff.
Yeah. It sounds like an incredible event. I am incredibly thankful that you were here to recap everything for us. Again, from a firsthand account, someone who was actually there, actually speaks the local language and can tell us what's bullshit, what's not. So Vaughn, thank you so much. I have enjoyed all 2 of our convention recaps so far. I hope we can keep doing these. You can be the unofficial Kanzenshuu European correspondent here.
I would gladly love to. If there's a next convention I can actually go to. I mean, Paris was pretty easy from where I live, and Brussels was pretty easy from where I live. But then it becomes a bit more complicated. So, I mean, if you want to support my work, you have my links. Because I pay everything out of pocket. I'm not paid by anyone to do any of this. So,
that's what I love. Old school DIY. We're doing it because we want to do it. That's it.
Exactly. I was lucky to get a press pass for the actual press conference, but I did pay for my own ticket because I wanted to participate in the autograph drafts. So, and I was very lucky. So I got everything signed and I got to shake hands with Toyotaro, and I'm never going to wash my hand anymore. He was very cool, and actually he had a haircut that was similar to a samurai's haircut because he had long hair tied back in a ponytail.
Yeah, I saw some photos going around like, oh, look at you.
Yeah, he had an undercut. He was very cool, and people say he looks very old compared to the last picture that you saw of him. But yeah, he was publishing 45 pages of manga every single month for 10 years. So of course he looks stressed and tired and taking 10 years. I mean, he's nearing 50. Like, let the poor man age. But yeah, I would love for him to relax a bit. And now he's this weekend. He's already starting a new convention. He's at the Jump Victory Festa. So we're going to see if there's an announcement there about maybe Lost Samurai or another thing. By this time, the events of Japan Expo have already made their way back to Japan, so they know what happened. So who knows what's going to happen then? So we have this weekend and this weekend in Tokyo, the next one in Nagoya, I believe. Oh no, Osaka. It's in Osaka. So yeah, it's lots of events. So he's doing a promo tour, and he's going to be jet lagged.
Well, you know what? That's actually a pretty good use of him. Like, if they can't have him drawing a series, like, this is the time to get him out there doing talks, doing publicity, reminding people about what there is. Like they're making good use of them. Makes sense. Vaughn, we could chat about anything and everything for hours. So I'm going to call it here. We had a great chat about the convention. I'm going to have you back for whatever the next convention to go to so we can get the debrief on it. You and I got questions for you about totally unrelated to convention stuff. I will hit you up at some point. You've offered to do some little research and digging for a guide I've been working on. So I'm going to pick your brain on that. I got a question for another article I'm working on. I want to double check something. And I think you're the only person I can ask.
I'm happy to be available for whatever reason anyone wants. So don't be afraid to reach out. I don't bite. But I do request a Princess Trunks drawing as a payment for funsies.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see what I can do there.
No, you're fine. Ask me whatever you want, whenever you want.
Perfect.
I should be more active on the forums, but if you tag me anywhere, I will happily see it. By the way, my first Twitter account was locked, so I'm now at VonDBZ2. But otherwise, my Linktree and my Blue Sky are available. My Tumblr is available. My email is available. So you have my Linktree with everything anyone wants. So don't hesitate to email me, anyone who listens. If you have questions, I can read Spanish. I speak Spanish. I can read Portuguese, but I can't speak Portuguese. And just say, hey, do you have this? Can you check this for me? You don't need to enter a big protocol of whatever. Just you can shoot me any questions like that. I'm happy to cover it and find information. If I have the information available, I would gladly share it. Don't hesitate for any reason.
I love that. I'm the same way. I just sit here all day long in my basement. I just wait for people to ask me questions. I'm like, oh, thank God. Someone wanted to know a date for a V-Jump. Let me help. It's all I want to do. Just ask questions. I'm glad there are other like-minded folks out there like me.
Yes. It's the beauty of fandom. It's the beauty of fandom.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, my specialty is mostly doujinshi. So, I mean, I'm a big doujinshi collector. I'm a big Furusawa fan. I'm a big Nahō Ishii fan. And modern doujinshi artists, all doujinshi artists who published at the time of Dragon Ball's publication. And theories at the time were very wild as well. Like at the time Future Trunks appeared and everyone was losing their mind, and the chapter said, oh yeah, Future Gohan died 4 years ago, and everyone, Gohan as an adult? Let's draw it. And you have a lot of designs of Future Gohan before Future Gohan was ever drawn officially. So I love that. This is my jam.
Well, Vaughn, thank you much. We will chat next time for a convention recap, if not something else. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you again to Vaughn for that. Just an incredible recap of everything that happened there. All the great stories, all the great tidbits. Tidbits. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm not going to edit that. Here we go. Continuing on. So thank you, Vaughn. Thank you to all of the patrons. As usual, I thank them. But also, hey, did you check out last episode of the podcast? I hope so. It was a live Q&A recording with our patrons. We did that on Twitch, and then I did post, if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, you got an audio edit of that. A couple days later, I did actually put up a lightly edited video version of that on our YouTube channel as well. So just one more way that you can check out the show if you didn't. I don't anticipate doing a ton of video content like that in the future. I just don't have the bandwidth for it. But I think I got that process at least set up a way that I can relatively easily do some more of those in the future. It's not going to be an every month sort of thing, but I would like to have a somewhat regular cadence of doing the live Q&A episodes. We took live questions from the patrons, but we also took some from the Twitch audience as well. Great time. Hope to talk more about that and schedule some more of those in the future. I did want to give an update on a project that I thought I would be ready to talk about by the time this podcast episode came up. For those of you who follow along with the Patreon, you saw an entry about this. I'm waiting on another issue to come in. That the information I was looking for just wasn't in the issues I was hoping. I had like a 25% chance that it was not going to be. And sure enough, that's what it ended up being. So one more box on the way, and hopefully this will put to bed that research project. Hey, do you know about the title page popularity poll? If you don't, you're going to hear and read all about it pretty soon on the site. I think that's it for now. There's probably a whole ton more that I need to mention, want to mention. We got such, I've updated my notes on my phone the other day with the potential podcast schedule for the rest of the year. And it's actually at a point where if everything goes according to plan, I can't even be as timely with some of the stuff as I want to be because there's other timely stuff in the way. And I've got all these great discussions. Are we going to have to beef it up to more than every other week? I don't know, but that may be a possibility in the future. We'll see. Keep up with the site, which is www.kanzenshuu.com. That is kanzenshuu.com. We will, of course, see you in next episode here on the podcast. I hope to see you at Otakon in August 2025, about under a month from now, as of the release of this here podcast episode. We hope to see you most Saturday nights over at grabyournearest.com, aka twitch.tv/FujitoEX. This is another one of those instances where we just had a stream, and this upcoming Saturday, we're not going to have a stream. So check out the VOD if you missed it. Stay tuned for the upcoming schedule on those. I think we'll be on and off a little bit leading up to the convention here. But always a wonderful time with the Kanzenshuu extended family. All your favorite folks together in one place, throwing bananas and shells at each other. I might have worn a wig for a little bit last stream. Who could say? I think that's it. Thank you as always. Those are all the places to check us out. We will see you next time here at Kanzenshuu, the podcast. Later, folks.